And for more, let's turn now to Camille Knight from our business desk. The summit portion of these meetings on artificial intelligence taking place next Monday and Tuesday, but already lots and lots of big players here in the French capital.
That's right. And now the summit is co-hosted by India, but this is, of course, an opportunity for President Emmanuel Macron to show France it has some credibility and is a key contender on the world stage when it comes to AI. Announcements are already starting to trickle in, with France's digital minister announcing that 35 new sites have been prepared to host data centres in the country. Now, Macron has long been keen on France being one of the leaders of the AI race, but competition in the US and China have a strong lead over European firms. Just as an example, OpenAI is valued at some $340 billion, while France's Mistral AI is valued at just $6 billion, with, of course, Chinese rival DeepSeek now having sent shockwaves through the tech industry with its much cheaper and more efficient model, something that will definitely be high on people's minds as they head to Paris. Now, French organisers are, of course, hoping as many high-profile individuals show up to the summit as possible. Take a listen.
Well, this is a summit that has about 100 heads of states that are invited, and we hope as many of them as possible sign it. We really hope that we can show the power of the collective and of a number of countries who want this direction for AI.
Now, so far, we know that US Vice President J.D. Vance, OpenAI's Sam Altman, and Google's Sundar Pichai will be there. There's still a question mark over Elon Musk. Now, Thursday and Friday are dedicated to scientific forums, with business and politics set to take centre stage at the Grand Palais next week. Now, to talk us through it all, our very own technology editor, Peter O'Brien, joins us live from the summit. Now, Peter, give us the lowdown on what's been happening on this first day.
We've been absolutely freezing here at the École Polytechnique south of Paris. You can see people starting to filter out after the day's conferences are over. This is the first of two science days, and boffins that had gathered here from around the world were very, very excited, particularly because of this recent breakthrough by DeepSeek. The prospect that we're going to be able to deploy advanced, powerful AI models at a fraction of the cost has got smaller players in France very excited.
Now, a lot of big names expected at the summit. Peter, you were able to speak to Yann Le Cun, Meta's chief AI scientist. What did you learn from that conversation?
Well, I wanted to ask him whether he felt vindicated, because he's French, of course, and he's been absolutely championing an open source approach to AI for years now. That's what Meta does. They have these llama models that are very powerful. They get copied around the world because they are open source. And he's been banging the drum and criticizing OpenAI, for instance, for closing off access to its models. So when DeepSeek came along and blew a lot of the competition away in terms of efficiency, he sounded pretty happy. I also talked to him about his boss, Mark Zuckerberg. He said that more masculine energy was needed in corporations. So when it comes to AI and developing AI, I asked Yann Le Cun whether more masculine energy was needed there as well.
We had a big project called Zeta, whose goal was to basically build a large-scale LLM. And then, for various reasons, a smaller group in France decided that they needed LLM for their project. And it turned out to work better than the big ones. It's not because of the quality of the people, like they were both very talented, but the problem was that one of organization and management. One, the small group had a lot of autonomy, a long leash, was relatively small, and had a lot of freedom, essentially. The big group was, kind of top-down managed, more directed, and in the end, that's a less efficient way of organizing research. And so we see the same thing with DeepSeek.
Yeah. Nothing to do with masculine energy or lack thereof.
No, not at all.
That doesn't come into it.
Absolutely not.
So not a unanimous view there, Peter. I want to ask you about Mistral, which was meant to be France's big hope for AI, wasn't it? Is that still the case?
It's in fact maybe more so the case now, because up until DeepSeek released its model, people were getting a bit worried about Mistral. I know, you know, 6 billion doesn't sound like a lot in terms of valuation compared to some of the big American players, but it's certainly very big for a European firm. And a lot of hopes in Europe were pinned on Mistral being at the forefront of AI. Now, there were questions around whether this promise was being fulfilled, but now that we've got DeepSeek coming out with its model, they can learn a lot from that. The question is, though, DeepSeek basically achieved what Mistral would have been able to do had they had the same kind of ideas. In any case, it's led by two people from here, from the École Polytechnique, including Arthur Monch, the CEO. I asked Laura Chaubard, who's the president of École Polytechnique, about Mistral.
But actually, I believe they're working on some similar setup as that's what Arthur Mensch said in the press in the last few days. So they wanted to prove first that they could reach the performance of OpenAI and ChatGPT, who of course impressed everyone, and they did. Mistral is very efficient right now, but they're also working on that kind of reinforcement learning schemes that were used in DeepSeek. So.
Now, Peter, this is just day one, of course. Is there anything we can expect from the coming days, and what could the kind of challenges posed by AI that might be addressed at the summit?
Yeah, so we've got a lot more events coming up over the next few days, and of course that main summit with the heads of state on Monday and Tuesday at the Grand Palais. This weekend is dedicated to cultural questions, and there's a big question there about copyright. In fact, one part of what Paris is trying to achieve this week in particular was reported by Politico as a charter on copyright, because the worries are that these AI companies are just simply training their models on work of writers and everything else online. So how can we give these people credit where it's due? And Politico reports that actually all the signatories of this draft charter are members of the media and civil society. No AI companies are currently signed up for it. There's also a host of other initiatives going to be announced. Some have leaked already, some we'll be hearing lots more about in the next few days. One's a €2.5 billion project for public interest AI. This is going to try and amass data sets for use towards public interest aims, things like healthcare. But the main thing, of course, is the declaration. We're expecting a declaration to be signed by as many of the heads of state as possible who are here on Monday and Tuesday. But the big question remains the US. Donald Trump has come in and ripped up Joe Biden's work on AI safety. Will they want to sign something which, its draft version at least, is entitled Inclusive and Sustainable AI for People and Planet? Doesn't really sound like Trump's vibe, does it?
Not quite. Our technology editor, Peter O'Brien there, who will of course be bringing us all the latest from the Paris AI Summit. And now one of the challenges we have been talking about as well is AI's impact on the environment. And over 100 NGOs, including Amnesty International, have published an open letter in French newspaper Le Monde calling on world leaders to take the issue seriously. AI and the data centres that power it rely on resources, including land, raw materials and water, and there's increasing evidence that it's driving up fossil fuel emissions. Eliza Herbert takes a look at how one data centre is seeking to curb its carbon footprint.
Artificial intelligence is becoming part of everyday life, and its data centres are generating a lot of heat. Here in France, these servers must be kept at 25 degrees, but if the cooling system stops, the room can climb to 45 degrees within 10 minutes. Keeping cool is usually an energy and water-intensive process, so this centre is trying something different.
The principle of river cooling is quite simple. We pump water at a rate of 3,000 cubic meters per hour, which is quite low, 2 kilometers from here, and take it through a pipeline that we have built and buried all the way to our data centres in the port of Marseille.
Fabrice is the chairman of Digital Realty France, a global data centre which manages processing and storage for major clients such as Microsoft, Disney and TikTok. He says river cooling has virtually eliminated their need for air conditioning, lowering the data centre's energy consumption by 20%.
We can create 20 megawatts of renewable energy by using underground river water that is unsuitable for consumption and other uses.
As investment in artificial intelligence booms, there is growing concern about its environmental footprint. Analysis by Deloitte found that data centres accounted for 4.4% of US electricity consumption in 2023, a figure that could climb to 12% by 2028. Advocates say that burning fossil fuels to power data centres would worsen the impacts of climate change and are calling for tech companies to invest in clean and renewable energy throughout the entire supply chain.
So we'll be keeping an eye on whether that makes the agenda.
All the way through to Tuesday. Kemi Knight, many thanks. Thank as well Peter O'Brien, who's covering it for us. Stay with us, Kemi, because